G'day guys, my name's Marky and welcome back to some more stories from Reddit. With that said, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie. Let's go. Thanks. Am I the asshole here for getting it elsewhere since my wife didn't want to have sex anymore? A few months ago, I posted for relationship advice on another subreddit. Basically, my wife has decided unilaterally that we are done having sex. She found out that she cannot have kids due to a choice she made before we met, and kids, apparently, are the only reason that she was willing to have sex. I love my wife, and I enjoy being intimate with her, but it was making our marriage untenable after 2 years of this. So I posted for advice. I got a lot of great support and suggestions about how to talk to my wife, and I tried a lot of it. I started going for counseling for myself as well. But no matter how I approached her about our situation, she would not try and see it from my point of view. Every discussion would end with her crying and screaming in my face that I'm trying to emotionally manipulate her. I then wrote her a letter outlining my feelings and asking her to come with me for counseling, to seek it for herself, perhaps to go see a doctor. I was kind and loving in the letter. The last thing I wanted to do was set her off. I worked on the wording with my counselor to make sure that I wasn't saying anything aggressive that could be misinterpreted. She read the letter, and then she scrolled across it with her red Sharpie. Go get it elsewhere because you were not getting it from me. And then she walked out. I sat there for about an hour doing nothing, and then I told myself that that was what I was going to do. We are both fairly successful in our jobs. I'm not super attractive, but I'm fit and a good talker. It took a while, but I met someone. We started out just as friends, but it did become physical. I made sure she knew that I was married, she's not interested in a relationship, so I guess I'm a safe option for her. My wife found out because I did not try and hide it. She was crying when I got home one night. When I came in, she asked if I was going to leave her, and I said no. She asked if I was cheating on her, and I said I was getting sex elsewhere. She said that was cheating, and I did not disagree. I asked her what she wanted to do. She said that I had to stop. I asked her if we were going to start having sex. She said I was an irrational asshole if I thought that she would have sex with me after I cheated. I went to my desk and pulled out a photocopy of the letter that I wrote with her answer on it. I went to have a shower and go to my room to sleep. When I woke up, she was sitting on the couch waiting to talk. She said that she reread the letter and that she realized she had not before. She assumed that it was just a letter begging for sex. She said she would go for counseling alone and with me. All I had to do was stop having sex elsewhere. I said I would be willing to pause my friendship until we saw a counselor, and that if I saw progress in our relationship, then I would break it off. She said she would not agree to counseling without me leaving the other woman. It almost turned into a fight, so I just went for my run. Before I left, I asked her what would compel her to go to counseling if I stopped having sex elsewhere. When I got back, she still did not have an answer. She couldn't even say that our relationship was worth saving. I don't want a divorce, but I am willing to leave over this. I am 28, and I am not going the rest of my life without sex. She refuses to see my side. In the comments, J Little Bass says, "The fact that you made a photocopy of the letter tells me that you already know this train is headed for Divorce Town." OP says, "I am prepared for that eventuality." Has she ever explained why she doesn't want sex? Is she part of some fundamentalist religion or something, or does it hurt? OP says, "She really wants children, can't have them, no point in sex in her eyes." Question: why is she so sex averse? Have you talked about this and why she can't enjoy a normal sexual relationship with her husband? I wouldn't say that you cheated in this scenario because her choice of words led to this, as did her refusal to read your letter or take your emotions into consideration. I wouldn't be caught dead with a woman like your wife. OP says, "We had a great sex life until we started trying for children. Then she found out that she cannot. Now she doesn't see the point of sex. Please get a divorce. She needs therapy, and you need to understand cheating on her is not excusable either. Two people just hurting each other intentionally. That is so damn sad." OP says, "She literally told me to get it elsewhere. Literally, not figuratively, like in her own words, written down." You just want to argue semantics. Do what you want. You're looking for validation and not advice. You can't claim to love or respect your wife and then cheat on her. OP says, okay, I will be more clear. Prior to her diagnosis, we would occasionally invite other women into our relationship. The reason that forsaking all others was not included was intentional because we did not want to break our vows. Info. Did you blame her for being infertile? When she found out she couldn't have children, what was her reaction other than no longer wanting sex? How did you emotionally support her? Do you think that she feels at fault for her infertility? Has there been an attempt at therapy or medication following finding out that she was infertile? OP says, I do not blame her for being sterile. Her choices led to that, but it's just a horrible outcome that I wouldn't wish on anyone. Anger. She was really angry when she found out. Mostly at herself, some at her old partners, mostly herself. I was there for her. When she was angry and there was nothing that I could do for her, I sought out counseling for myself so I could learn how to be there for her no matter what. She feels she deserves to be infertile to make up for her prior choices. I told her that no one deserves what happened to her body. I believe that I may have mentioned that she will not seek counseling. Info. I want to know exactly what your reaction was when you found out that she can't get pregnant and why. What did you say to her? What were your exact words? I'm willing to bet that that'll have the answer for why she cut off sex. OP says, I held her when she cried. We went home and cried together, and then we both took a week of paid time off. We stayed home and I cooked for her while she lay in bed. I told her that we would be okay and that we had lots of different ways of starting a family. I told her that I was okay with just her for the rest of my life if that's what she wanted too. I did tell her that I was sad that we would not be having a biological child, but that it was not the end-all be-all of my life. At what point did you start referring to what she did in her past as stupid decisions? Do you call it that around her? Have you ever said that to her face? OP says, it is how she refers to her past. She says that she made a lot of stupid decisions when she was young. I knew about her past when we started dating, and I accepted it as part of who she is. We did not know until 2 years ago that her prior decisions had some fantastically shitty consequences for us. I have never referred to her decisions as stupid when talking to her. I'm actually kind of curious if you guys would have any idea of what decisions would make her infertile like that. Like, I'm looking at Google here and there's alcohol, endometriosis, tobacco smoking. For me, I'm thinking it's the sexually transmitted diseases that caused it. Being exposed to toxins is another potential choice. I know that speculation in this instance, given the circumstances, is wrong, but I can't help my curiosity. This is a very much sticky situation, and you lying to your wife about breaking off your affair if she agrees to go to counseling, that's also a bad decision. Her writing that down on the piece of paper was not permission for you to do that. I completely understand your justification and explanation for your actions, but at the end of the day, it was still cheating, regardless of if she said to go get it somewhere else or not. I feel like the relationship was already very much strained before this, and the cheating is just going to strain it even harder. I know everyone in the comments is always like, oh, Reddit's always proclaiming divorce straight away and screaming it to high heavens. But if you do stick it out in a situation like this, I genuinely don't know if you can rebuild that initial trust that you guys had with each other. Can you bring the relationship back to a stable point? I just don't realistically see that happening. And now, on to the updates. I told my wife that I broke off my relationship with the woman that I was having sex with. I did this because she said she would not agree to go to counseling unless I did so. She refused to go for counseling after I told her I broke off my relationship with my friend. She said that I was her husband and that I didn't have the right to her body or to get sex elsewhere. Since I lied as a test, I think you can guess I knew that she was lying. We are getting divorced, she deserves to be happy with someone who is okay with no sex in the marriage, and I deserve a life. I have moved out and am moving forward with my life. Thanks for all of your advice. In the comments, Gentle Bastard says, funny how you don't have the right to her body or to get sex elsewhere, but she somehow has the right to demand that you don't have sex anymore. You ain't getting any tonight. I ain't getting any from you tonight. He said that with his chest. Ah yes, the get sex somewhere else's wife. who threw a tantrum because you heeded her command. I still have no sympathy for her because, while I get that it's her body, she ultimately refused any and all discussions on the matter, and even here, only dangled the prospects of an actual dialogue on the subject to get her way. Well, she played herself and still thought that she could pull the "you married me and made vows, so you're stuck, and I don't have to do anything." Welcome to the age of no-fault divorces, sweet pea. Yeah, she seems super selfish. Honestly, I couldn't imagine someone like that as a very great person even outside of the bedroom. I don't get it. If you don't want to have sex, which is important in a relationship, and you fight whenever it's brought up and won't get help for it, then, when your partner reaches their breaking point, you basically tell them to seek intimacy elsewhere. Why continue being in this relationship? If she doesn't want to have sex, then that's fine, but her partner doesn't want that lifestyle, and instead of being adults discussing this, you put down their feelings, then, how did she think the relationship would last? If she wanted it to work, then why not seek help? You can't rationalize the irrational. Her inner turmoil after learning that she's infertile is causing her to be unreasonable and do things that rational people wouldn't do in order to assuage her internal pain. Yeah, at the end of the day, I understand that OP's actions were problematic, but she is the much bigger problem here. She ultimately is the one that caused the downfall of that marriage, and thank God that we have no-fault divorces now, because OP would have been stuck in that situation. I think there's a sliding scale of assholery going on here, and what OP did, yes, was wrong, but I think she's on the opposite end. She withheld sex and then was like, no, I'm not talking about it. Best of luck to her in the future. I wish her all the best, but OP, I hope that you find someone that is more compatible with you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Our next post is by user SavingSuccotash432, titled, "Never have a sexual relationship with somebody in your building, it ain't worth it." So this woman in my building kept making idle conversation with me and eventually asked for us to exchange numbers, and I did so. We started texting, and one thing led to another, and we end up having sex a few times. Now, I told her from the beginning that I'm focused on improving my life right now. I don't want a girlfriend, but hey, if you just want to have fun, we can have some fun. So the more that we had sex, the more she kept randomly showing up at my door at all hours asking to hang out, and it just began to be what I said that I wasn't looking for, so I cut her off. Fast forward, my car windows have been busted out twice. She's emptied a whole bag of trash in front of my apartment door and took my clothes out of the washer mid-wash and dumped them on the floor. OP, stop sticking your dick in crazy, please. I'm too embarrassed to tell the leasing office about the situation, and I don't want to involve the police. Basically, I guess I'm gonna have to move, and it sucks because I love my apartment. I even tried talking to her and being very kind about it, but her response is to go back to how it used to be, or she will keep doing the stuff. Any advice? Yeah, go back in time and don't stick your dick in crazy. Also, my building has entry locks and a parking garage with limited access, and that's what makes me so mad, is that no other woman could easily be making my life this hellish if she didn't live in the building. In the comments, Arsenek says, "Explain the situation to your leasing office, file a police report for your car windows, and maybe get a restraining order. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. You should be focused on improving your life and shouldn't have to move out of the apartment that you love." OP says, "Yeah, I've been saving the texts just in case I do decide to go to the leasing office, but damn, I just don't like everyone knowing my business, but this situation has become a nightmare. We deal with stuff like this all the time in the office, and way more intense than that. Just tell them that you had a casual relationship with another resident, tried cutting it off, and now you feel like she is harassing you. They'll follow up with her and will post a legal notice if they have proof, something that can hold up in court, that she is harassing you. Just another day in property management." OP says, "Yeah, the leasing office lady is pretty chill, so I'm sure she'll understand and help. It's just like, I enjoy being a ghost tenant. Pay my rent online, maintenance requests online. Like, leasing never hears from me, and for me to have to go talk to them about this pisses me off, but it's my fault for even messing with her to begin with. This happened to me. It's really scary dealing with an unhinged person. Don't give her any attention, don't try to reason or apologize. She feels powerful and is feeding off of your fear and discomfort. keep a log, and take photos. Go to the leasing office with evidence. Read up on personality disorders so that you can spot one a mile away. And OP says, you're totally right that she's feeding off of my fear and discomfort, like I gotta sit in my laundry room for 2 hours to make sure my clothes aren't damaged. Look, if she was able to mask the craziness from the start, I can give you an absolute pass for that one. We all make mistakes, OP. You've now got to phase out of your ethereal form into the real world and get down to that leasing office and get them to file a police report. If you continue to exist in your ghostly shackles, then the crimes of crazy will continue to haunt you. But they have CCTV footage of her committing multiple crimes. You're gonna be absolutely fine, my brother. They're gonna have rock solid evidence, she's gonna be evicted lickety-split, and you're gonna be good because you can probably get a restraining order as well based off of that video evidence that they have. And now, on to the update. So yesterday I posted about a problem that I was having with a woman in my apartment building who had started making my life hell after we had casual sex a few times, and I decided to cut her off. Well, this morning I took off work, went to the leasing office, and explained the situation to the leasing lady. I explained the situation and showed her all the text evidence that I had and pictures, and she was more mad about it than I was, and basically said that I should have come to her the first time she did anything. I was so glad that she understood the situation. She said she's going to check the parking garage cameras on the dates that my car windows got busted out and see if they've got her on film clearly. She also said she's going to send old girl an email saying that doing stuff like this is grounds for eviction. She said she can't evict her yet until they have full proof that it was her, but she sounds dedicated to getting that proof. Thanks everyone for the advice, and hopefully this gets resolved and I don't have to move. In the comments, good for the leasing office lady. I'm glad that she's helping you out and you won't have to buy your own cameras for evidence. The crazy and controlling girl probably won't even expect it honestly, since her emotions are so far ahead of her. OP replies, yeah, honestly, the leasing lady turning up how she did made me want to keep my apartment even more. Like, she was really mad about the situation. She even said email her any time of the day if anything else happens. Make sure that you don't have her blocked or anything, so if she sends you some more unhinged shit, then you have it on record. You can mute her notifications so whatever she sends you doesn't need to impact you. Also, please keep us updated over the next few weeks and days. I have a feeling that this isn't the end of things, cause that behavior is legit insane. OP says, will do thanks. I blocked her number cause she would keep calling me 24/7 back to back, especially when I realized there was no conversation that could be had in which that she would agree to stop. I'ma try to mute her calls. Thank God that we have leasing office ladies in our lives. They love the power that they have over tenants that they can just evict them like this. They can send out well-written threats to clients, and that is part of their job that they are getting paid for. I'm sure that she is absolutely lapping this situation up. She's like, hot damn, some more drama that I can get involved with. I can be judge, jury, and executioner of this one. Let's go. My apologies, leasing office ladies. I wasn't aware of your game. Update 2. So this morning, the leasing lady calls me and tells me to come to the office. I get there, and she has 4K crystal clear footage of old girl breaking my windows out on 2 different occasions. Old girl didn't cover her face or nothing, plus one time she broke them out, she went to her car to get something before going back into the building. Not only did she have the car footage, but she had elevator footage of old girl taking a full bag of trash to my floor, then getting back in the elevator with an empty bag. You done messed up, old girl. So leasing lady asks if I wanted to call the cops, and I said nah, because I honestly just try to deal with the police as little as possible. I just told her that she can handle the situation however she wants. I just need old girl to leave me alone, or else I'ma have to move, unfortunately. She said, okay, gotcha. I'ma take care of it. Couple hours later, leasing lady calls me and says the cops just came and picked old girl up, and I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, she called the cops and told them she had a tenant who's been breaking into cars at night. She said that since it happened on apartment property, the leasing agency can file charges without me. She said she didn't even mention me or anything. She also said that all girls getting evicted, and on top of that, gave me a $300 rent credit for next month to help cover some of my window repairs, because in her exact words, that lunatic should have never been living here in the first place. Best leasing lady ever. In the comments, do not, and I repeat, do not have casual sex with the leasing lady. I will not have casual relations with that woman. Honestly, I wonder if the leasing lady hated the troublemaking woman from the get-go. Could be that she caused other problems in the building, and she was super happy to have a real solid case to evict her now. Yeah, I think once she started reviewing footage, she found other shit, and probably figured out other unexplained phenomena. You know, I like to have a relationship, but these kind of insane situations just make me feel that being single isn't so bad. I've been single for a while, and I read this post right after I listened to my friend rant about how awful dating is these days. Between unhinged people and all the texts, good morning, how was lunch, how was the shower, where my hug, I think I'm good on dating for another while. What's wrong with you guys? You don't want to casually date psychopaths that are going to break your car windows, dump trash out the front of your door, take your washing out while it's washing? What do you mean? That is my Roman Empire right there. How dare you insult the pillars of salt and pillars of sand that these foundations are made of? If it ain't unhinged and dangerous, I don't want it. But again, OP, do not stick your dick in the leasing lady. Please, God, do not do that. But thank you for sharing this story. That was wildly entertaining. I loved that. That's the kind of tea that I need in my life, OP. Thank you for sharing. Our next post is by user ArtEast1674, titled, Am I the asshole for not comforting my brother after his wife cheated on him again? So about 9 years ago, my brother's wife left him for another man. She was cheating on him all that time. My brother was devastated, as they had married very young. I was always against it, and I had my brother in my apartment for months. He had fallen into a severe depression, and I was the one who paid for his psychologist since he didn't have money and even lost his job because he didn't even want to move from the couch or bath. I even gave him a bath. I wasn't bothered by that. I did everything for my brother. She just left and blocked him from everywhere. She simply confessed to him that she had been cheating on him for a year and that she was in love with that man. 4 years after that, when my brother was finally starting to feel better, she reappeared in everyone's life. The typical thing happened. She and her lover were no longer together, she had begun to receive psychological help and had changed completely. She felt regretful, she was really sorry, etc. That's the kind of sorry BP gives for causing yet another environmental catastrophe in the Gulf. Oh, we're so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I told my brother all the time to cut off contact with her for the sake of his mental health. He didn't. I always had a bad feeling and I could smell the shit from afar. He started to justify her past actions all the time by saying that she had changed, they were too young, she was having problems, etc. And he got angry when I told him that she is still a witch. Shortly after that, they got back together, and my brother cut off all contact with me because I didn't accept their relationship and he didn't want anyone to come between them. Sorry to say someone already did come between you. I told him to piss off, and we didn't talk anymore. Now, my brother has reappeared at my house after years without him wanting to talk to me, only to tell him that his wife cheated on him again, but this time they have children. In the past, I would have let him in, hugged him and everything, but he has gone years without even inviting me to meet his children. He has not even spoken to me to congratulate me on my marriage or on my pregnancy. I even invited him to my wedding and he didn't come. I told him that at this moment, I can't let him be in my house, which is actually true because I can't have that kind of stress. He told me that we are siblings and he needs me, but I told him that I needed him too, but he was never there and he cut me off for that woman. We had an argument and my husband ended up kicking him out because I was already crying. He's staying with our parents now, and my mother just tells me that it's not the time to hold a grudge against him and he needs me. But I can't forget how he didn't think twice before cutting off all contact with me for her. In the comments, not understanding why people go back to cheaters like that, OP says, I don't understand it either, But the truth is that he had never gotten over that relationship. My brother went back to her because she basically sweetened his ear with things like that she was getting psychological help, that she was sorry for everything. She even came to tell me that she was really sorry for everything. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry. You were way too involved in your brother's life. You bathed him because he was depressed? OP says, way too involved? No. I was giving him the support that he needed. Some people are so depressed that they even need help bathing. I'm a nurse, I've taken care of people in the same state, or even people who needed help eating and brushing their teeth. Not the asshole. Your brother is an idiot, and you know as soon as the ex wants back, he will dump you again. He's able to completely cut off his supportive sister for years without a problem, but is not able to do the same for his cheating wife. That's messed up. Are those kids even his? Not the asshole, OP. It's your turn to cut him off for your and your family's well-being. If he's been raising the kids as his for a couple of years, in many US states, he's considered their father and responsible for child support, no matter who the actual sperm belonged to. Dude is a Class A idiot. Not the asshole. It's funny how you can't hold a grudge, but he can be mad. Relationships are a two-way street. You were there for him at his lowest, and he threw you away for a woman that clearly doesn't care about him. What happens if the wife comes back and they get back together? Will he disappear again? You have enough self-respect to know that you deserve to be treated better, and if he had half the self-respect that you had, he wouldn't be in this position. Yeah, nah. He burned a bridge. This is called the consequences of your actions, and he can figure it out. If he wants to consider reparations at some point in the future, I would seriously consider if it's even worth it. He can stay with your parents if they want to enable him. Let the relatives whom he didn't ghost for years be the ones to look after him this time. The ones who've met his children, the ones whose weddings he actually attended, etc. Your brother is trying to do the same thing to you as his wife did to him, treat you like shit until he wants something from you. His wife never really became a better person or learned from what she did, and your brother hasn't learned a damn thing or changed either. The fact he only cares about himself and what he's going through and doesn't give a shit about your needs or well-being proves that he's nearly as big a piece of shit as his wife. Not the asshole. And tell your mum that she can deal with his stupid, pathetic ass this time, because he's not your problem. Yeah, you're just giving back the energy that you received, OP. You're more than welcome to cut him off, and I encourage you to do so. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Do not shame yourself by letting this happen again and letting the cycle repeat. It's just a waste of time and energy. There's so many more emotional resources you could be committing to your family. There's so much less stress that you could be putting yourself through. There are so many better choices to be made in this lifetime that could benefit you and your family than allowing this absolute donkey idiot sandwich back into your life and going through the motions once again. This is very much a his circus, his monkeys situation, and you should just go completely no contact with him and laugh in his face for this one. He's not just a clown, he's the whole circus. Update. So I've spoken to my mother because she kept trying to persuade me to talk to my brother. She came to see me since I cannot move too much. She basically told me that my brother is very sorry. Oh, he's so sorry. And I told her that then he should tell me that and not her. But my mother replied that my brother is too embarrassed about his actions, but I told her that I'm not going to let her be any kind of mediator, and my brother is old enough to speak for himself. I know he was sending her to insist that I talk back to him. My brother is an adult and he can speak for himself. That said, 2 days ago my brother came back to my house to talk about everything. He told me something that I always knew, which is that he never got over his ex-wife, and he was always totally blind for her. He believed that all of us who were against him coming back to her were toxic, and he should cut us out of his life because we were an obstacle that didn't believe that people can change, so that's what he did with me. Block me from his life. He says that he feels ashamed of himself for having been so blind since she cheated on him again. I never told him I told you so, nor am I going to, because he already knows that. There were many people worried about whether their children were his, but I can assure everyone that they are. They look identical to him, and luckily she was maybe faithful at that time. Anyway, after talking, he apologized to me and told me that he needs me, but I told him the same thing as that day. I needed him too, and he was never there. I forgive him for everything, but that doesn't mean that I want to go back to everything being like before, because I don't want to put myself in that situation again. He didn't even tell me what he's going to do with his wife, and I don't want the situation to repeat. I never did anything except something in return, but it did hurt me a lot that he turned his back on me without thinking twice, and only came back when things got bad for him. I had invited him to my wedding, maybe foolishly believing that he would come, but he didn't even do that. I even kept a seat for him, thinking he was maybe coming late, and I felt really dumb for doing that. I told him I'm sorry, but I want things to continue as before since I got used to not having him in my life, and I don't trust that he won't use me as a nurse and a therapist anymore. At first, he didn't understand it and said that we are siblings and we should be united, but when I told him that he forgot that for years, he shut up. So that's it. I simply told him that I prefer to continue without contact with him as before, and I've made it clear to my mother that I want to spend these months peacefully. Maybe some will call me cruel and say that I should think about my family, but I'm not going to let him treat me like she treated him. In the comments, Love Jane says, "You were absolutely not the asshole. Your brother made his choices and cut you out of his life when you tried to warn him. You don't owe him comfort now that his poor decisions have blown up in his face. You are prioritizing your own well-being, and that's perfectly okay." The fact that he's still going on about how siblings need to be united, even after OP explained how hurtful what he did was, shows that he hasn't learned shit, and still puts his own feelings over anything else. He expects OP to reconcile on his timeline because it's what he feels that he deserves. If I were OP, I'd tell him that he needs to work on empathy and not being so self-absorbed before I let him back into my life. You don't understand. Siblings need to be united when he is desperate and lonely and in crisis. That's what siblings are for, to support him in his time of need. God forbid the man has learned his lesson and is trying to change his attitude. Look, he may have learned his lesson, though I still wouldn't bet any money on him staying strong if she ever reels him back in. I think he'd come running like the pathetic lapdog that he is. But just because he says he regrets cutting off his sister doesn't mean that his sister has to forgive him. He hurt her deeply and abandoned her for all her major milestones. He doesn't just get to waltz back into her life now because he's sorry. Naturally not the asshole. Your well-being should never be sidelined for the sake of someone else's mistakes, especially when they've willingly distanced themselves in the past. Reconciliation isn't an obligation, it's a choice. One that requires mutual respect and understanding, which doesn't seem to have been reciprocated by your brother. It's commendable that, despite your pressure, you firmly held on to your principles and protected your space. Wishing you the best with your expecting bundle of joy, and remember, maintaining healthy boundaries is not only a right, but also a testament to your self-respect. Quotes, "I'm not gonna let him treat me like she treated him." Oof. Yeah, that line was a gut punch. Good on OP for sticking to her guns. Her reasoning is wonderfully refreshing. Honestly, this is so hard to do, putting yourself first and setting boundaries, especially with family and people whom you obviously love, but cannot have in your life. It's insane to me that he thought he could just show up at her house, unannounced, and be welcomed with open arms, after years of refusing to even so much as text her. Some people don't even realize that being Delulu is the Salulu. That's just how they exist in the real world. There is no perceiving reality for what it is and being a rational human. Self-awareness was not part of the update. Unfortunately, he is one of the victims of this, and he will be eternally stuck in a cycle of whipping himself on the back. Good on you, OP, for sticking to your boundaries and keeping him away. It is true, you and your family do deserve so much better than this. He hasn't learned anything from this situation. He doesn't empathize with your side. I don't think it's possible for him to walk a mile in your shoes, to see this from your eyes, to see his impacts that he has had on you and how that has made you feel. I don't think it's actually possible for him to think about that. The bit about the wedding is such a jumble of emotions for me. It's embarrassment, it's shame, it's sadness. It is so many different emotions coupled together that, you held out hope. You're like, no, No, he's my brother. It's my wedding. It's going to be different. He's going to be here. This is the exception. This is where family shows up for each other. It's going to be different this time. And it wasn't different that time, and he didn't care. And he doesn't care, and I don't think he ever will care. Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. I'm sorry that it had to come to this. I'm sorry that this had to happen, but that's just life sometimes, and life is not fair. And that's all I have for you guys today. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.